Airpark Canterbury, bringing you trusted local news with Chris Lynch. Airpark Canterbury, your budget-friendly airport parking. Book at airparkcanterbury.co.nz.
Well, the Canterbury Regional Council has announced a proposal of a 24.2% increase in rates to support its long-term plan. Its chair, Peter Scott, is with me on this. G'day, Peter. Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning, Chris. Good to be back, actually.
Yeah, good to see you. So this is one of the largest increases in New Zealand facing residents. Why so high? Because I think the last time we spoke, it wasn't nearly as high, but it's gone up.
Yeah, I know it's a tough number, not everyone's happy that we're putting this number out. The reason for that is that we've got three key pieces of work that we're doing, and they come with a decent number. So our regulation and protection work, which is our planning work, we've got for example, we've got a regional policy statement underway at the moment. That's a $10 million piece of work. So our planning cost increases over the last wee while have gone up. When we do a plan or even a plan revision, they're in the millions, not hundreds of thousands. And that's because the regulatory space we're in, every time something changes in Wellington, we need to adjust what we're doing. It's tough. And then public transport, we're wanting to do an uplift in service and public transport in Christchurch. Our aim is to make sure that Christchurch has world-class public transport, and that's the start of this program. So Route 7, an uplift in service there, frequency uplift. So that's got some money attached to it also. So, and then, our community preparedness, that's about the work we do in rivers, the resilience that we provide to communities with, our work in flood protection, and actually also funding out of scheme works that help protect communities. So those costs are increasing, and then there's the inflation factor that's in there also. So that takes about 6 or 7% of the 24%. About a quarter of the 24%.
Peter, I mean, I've read part of the consultation document, which it's actually easier to read. So I would recommend the public read it and see what the options there are and see what the councillors have preferred in terms of those options. And what you're saying is essentially correct. I mean, everything has gone up. But I can hear people now saying on my Facebook feeds, it's just too much, it's out of control. The council needs to cut its cloth. We're doing the same thing. So what do you say to that? What would you be urging people watching this right now to say? Essentially have their say is the idea, isn't it?
I think that's right. I mean, people need to have their say. This can be seen as a provocative piece of work that we've put out there, but there are three options under those areas of those three core service areas. So I wouldn't stamp my feet on it, Chris. I think what you need to do is actually go to our website and make a submission to us, even if it's just simple. Even if it's just like we don't expect you have to pay this much money for the services you provide. And that's the other point of this, is I think that the services that we do provide across Canterbury aren't well understood. I mean, we employ the harbour masters, so all that shipping safety and water safety work that's done, ships that come into Littleton and Timaru come through the services we provide, so those coastal services, and not too many people realise that we've got 800 kilometres of coastline in Canterbury. We've got 11,600 square kilometres of offshore that we look after. So, we get out to the 12-mile limit or the 20K limit, and we're responsible for that. So that's one of those things that we're responsible. A lot of people think we just look after rivers. We've got 27,000 consents that we look after, and that each consent comes with a consenting process, a monitoring process, and then a follow-up enforcement process if the consents aren't being held properly. So it's a big piece of work that we have to do. We've got 64% of New Zealand braided rivers in Canterbury. It's mind-boggling, the things that we actually have to do. That's no excuse, of course, and we'll be trying as hard as we can with this new coalition government to see if we can work our way through minimising some of the costs, and that's our job also, and just see where we go. But this is a consultation document, as you've said, and I would encourage people to go and and make a submission. And look, I'd appreciate what you said about this is more simple than the last one, because that's encouraging. We get people saying, like, this is a 300-page document. How can we read it? The reason it's 300 pages long is because the Local Government Act sets the rules for us that we have to have the empirical evidence behind what we do. And that's in the 300 pages. That explains what our business is. But the top bit, the bit that people see, is the 24.2%. That's the bit that they see and that they react to.
Is there anything that councillors have discussed in the past to try and reduce that number? Because why has it gone from, I think the last time we spoke, was it 13%? It's gone to 24%. So it's increased.
It has, and I think that, so councillors discuss these things all the time. We have a big desire within our council to increase the biodiversity spend that we have across Canterbury, both in communities like the Port Hills and support community groups do work that they're doing. That work has got a lot of support from our ratepayers. In fact, when we have submissions on this, we'll get a lot of people coming in saying, look, we need some of your money, some of the money that you're collecting for rates. We need to be able to do this for, predator-free Banks Peninsula or planting or, the Improvement Society or whatever they are. They can ask us for money. And we support that. There are councillors that don't believe some of the work we do in some of the areas that we should be doing that. So that outreach communities don't believe that that's as important as actually keeping water away from houses or the coastal adaptation work we're trying to do with communities that are threatened by sea level rise and those sorts of things. So, they have our this plan wasn't fully supported. I must say we had two councillors who couldn't vote for it and actually abstained from the voting. So it's not unanimous. There's always debates. But at the end of the day, our responsibility is to actually get the plan out the door, then listen to the community.
Is it fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, looking at the consultation, the draft consultation document, it really looks like it's an absolute wish list of what Environment Canterbury hopes or wants to achieve. Now it's time for the public to say, okay, that's a nice wish list, but here's what I think is more reasonable. Because as you said in your statement yesterday, the public has to decide what trade-offs it thinks are acceptable, right? Yeah, and I guess that's why we want to get the message out through the likes of channels that you have, Chris, is to say to people, it's important. It's important that you actually tell us what you think. It's important what you prioritise. We prioritise the things, and we're lucky as councillors because we understand the width and the depth of things we need to do. And there is sort of a wish list amongst things that we want to do. And that there's three sections here. And the top section is, hey, if we had everything going our way, we'd get 24.2% of the rates. This is what we would do. The second bit is, well, if the community doesn't want the services that we've identified in one of the three core areas, then they need to tell us that. They need to say, hey, actually, we'd rather have more biodiversity planting than river resiliency, or we'd have the other way around. And it takes a bit of scrutiny of the document to actually work that stuff through. And I don't know, is that asking too much of people? I don't know. It's a document that we've prepared. We've tried to simplify it, and we've tried to get that engagement. And also, if you go on to the Environment Canterbury website too, you can click down and see, the average rates that you possibly be paying based on what the value of your home now is, which I think is really handy. The consultation document, when does it actually go out for submissions? When can people actually start making submissions to Environment Canterbury, Peter?
Yeah, so that submission period starts on the 13th of March and runs to the 14th of April, and people can access that through our website on what's the cost. And in fact, if you put in what's the cost, you'll get that. I think the other point that you just made actually is there is a big range of rate increases across the community, depending on whether you've got whether you live in Kura, whether you live in Kaikoura, whether you live in Selwyn, or whether you live in Bishopdale or Pendleton or wherever you live, and that information is there. Our rates aren't as high per household, but there are still an impost on households. People say, well, you're just piling this on top of other things, and we're aware of that. I mean, we're here to try and keep the ratepayers informed of what we're doing.
And judging by the consultation document, I can actually understand it, so it's not bad. I'll give you that. Peter Scott, nice to speak with you. And I suppose the take-home message from today is make sure that the public have their say. Don't moan if you don't like what the council's doing. Then have your say. Make a submission.
Yeah, and if you know a councillor, grab a councillor and talk to a councillor. They can help you through the process. That's what they're there for. They're advocating on behalf of communities. And for example, Christchurch has got 8 councillors. Easy to access through the website also.
And and they're always willing to chat. Peter Scott, good to see you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Chris.